Today I'll be teaching you how to make garden sloppy joes. Sloppy joes are a favorite in my house. This recipe really shows a great example of how you can make your favorite recipes not only delicious, but very nutritious as well. So with lots of different fresh produce and options that are in this recipe, which you can find just below within the Maricopa Healthy app. For this recipe, we have several ingredients that are here. For example, we have the barbecue sauce, tomato sauce, canned mushrooms, crushed tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, carrots, and the whole wheat buns. You do want to make sure that you find the whole wheat buns, which offer extra whole grains and fiber. For these ingredients, the produce specifically that's fresh, finding them at a farmer's market could be an excellent option this time of year. Shopping at farmers markets are a great way to be able to have access to in-season local produce. The benefits of local or in-season produce is they're more nutrient dense, and we're also able to buy from local farmers and support them. There are several different local farmers markets within the Phoenix area, so getting online and finding the one closest to you in your community can be a nice way to get access to this local produce. So for this recipe specifically, it costs about $10.10 to make, and it makes 12 servings. So that's only about 85 cents per serving, which is an awesome value for a nutritious recipe like I had mentioned. To begin, I will start with teaching you how to cut an onion. Cutting an onion is something that I really struggled with for a long time. But of course, before we get started, making sure to wash your hands. Washing your hands is really important to begin the cooking process. But you can get a little bit closer, and then I can walk you through how to dice this onion like I had mentioned to make it a little bit more manageable. So what you want to do to begin is cut off the tip and move that aside. Then you'll cut your onion in half, like so. Next, you'll want to peel out the exterior layer. So just taking this off with your fingers. And then this is where it gets different. So what you want to do is cut it lengthwise. So towards the top, you'll just dice down, of course, following knife safety and making sure to be careful with your fingers. So you'll just dice evenly down. You can do thicker or more thin, depending upon how your family likes this recipe and how much they like onions. So for some of those that might not like onions, cutting them a little bit finer can sometimes really help. Then you'll turn it the other way. Since this top part is holding everything together, it doesn't fall apart. So it makes it a lot easier to dice. So then you just cut down this way, and you're able to dice into really nice pieces a lot more easily and quickly. And then this part is all set. So next we'll be moving over to the stove to complete the rest of the recipe. So next we're going to begin the cooking process. So our first step is to put in our ground meat. I personally chose ground turkey. I used a higher protein, lower fat choice to be a little bit more heart healthy. It's also kind of a win-win because when you have a higher fat meat, you lose a lot of that amount in the cooking process because the fat turns into liquid, so the amount of meat that you end up at the end is actually smaller. So a higher protein content can be helpful, but then we're also putting in the onion that we had chopped earlier, getting all of this, our carrots, and then lastly our green bell pepper. And then we are going to continue to cook this on medium to high heat while it cooks. So for these ingredients, I encourage you to make this your own. If your family, for example, doesn't like bell peppers, it's totally okay to substitute with another vegetable or a different type that you like better. For example, some ideas that you could do with this recipe include options like adding jalapeno if you'd like it a little bit more spicy. Also, if you don't have a green pepper on hand at your house, but you have like a red or a yellow, making those kinds of substitutions is totally okay. So saving a trip to the grocery store and using whatever you have on hand is always encouraged. So I'll just continue to break this up so the meat is into smaller pieces. And then I'm going to continue to cook this for about 5 minutes until it starts to brown the meat. Alright, so now the meat has browned and the vegetables are starting to cook throughout. So the bell peppers start to get a little bit more vibrant, and so do the carrots. So the next step is to add the rest of the ingredients. We're going to be adding our barbecue sauce. So pouring that into there. We're going to be adding our mushrooms. Canned mushrooms are a little bit more affordable. Although if you have fresh mushrooms, you can do that. I know at a lot of the farmers markets, like I had mentioned, they have some good mushroom options available. So that could be an option for you. We're also going to include the crushed tomatoes. And then we're going to include the tomato sauce. Tomatoes are actually a really good source of potassium. So potassium is an essential electrolyte for that. What that means is it really helps your body with different mechanisms, for example, like being able to move our muscles or our nerves, being able to communicate effectively. So it's a really good source from our food to get a little bit of potassium. And then we're going to continue to stir this until it's mixed completely throughout. Like I had mentioned, for this recipe, I did choose a couple of canned options. So making sure to recycle these cans is a good way to be more environmentally friendly. Keeping in mind you do have to rinse out the cans before you recycle them. So just taking that quick step to rinse them out, and then however your city does it, either using the recycling bin or dropping it off at the appropriate places. But I have stirred all of the ingredients together. Now I'm going to turn the heat up so I can bring this to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, you can turn it down to let it simmer, and then you're gonna simmer it for about 15 to 20 minutes, just so it can get to the consistency that you like best for your sloppy joes. So we have simmered the sloppy joes for about 19 minutes. My family likes the sloppy joes a little bit more cohesive and not quite as runny, so that's why I went a little bit more towards the higher end. But again, make it your own to make it delicious and how your family likes it. At this point, your sloppy joes are all ready. So you did have about 15 to 20 minutes depending in between while the food was simmering. So I do encourage you to check out the Maricopa Healthy Recipes on the app. There's a lot of really good, quick side options that you could pair with these sloppy joes really nicely. To serve though, easy enough. Again, we have this all together, good to go. So that's what mine looks like. And then we can scoop it right onto these whole wheat buns. And then depending upon, again, how many servings you're going to serve right away, in total this recipe does make about 12 though, so you get quite a bit for the money and the time, and then you are all set. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy your garden sloppy joes.